Hi, and welcome back to Cat Run Figures. I'm your host, Caitlin, and today we're going to be reviewing Motor Girls, issue 6. So, if you are currently not reading Motor Girl, I would definitely suggest picking it up. It is another fantastic book from Terry Moore. If you've never read Rachel Rising, he's the creator of Rachel Rising. So, jumping right back on into the story, we get to see that, of course, the alien ship is about ready to land outside of the junkyard, and of course, the government scientists are all ready for it. And of course, it crash lands, and they open fire and attack the aliens that emerge from it. The lead scientist is screaming at them. Of course, he wanted them alive and everything. But once all the smoke clears, there's no aliens. So it's kind of weird. So meanwhile, back at Sam's house, we get to see that she's dealing with Larry. She and Mike are dealing with him. And Larry, of course, was the man that got abducted by the aliens and may or may not have been probed. We don't know, so we're not really going to get involved with that. But we do know they did a few experiments on him. So, of course, she's offering him the only two things that she has in her fridge, which are beer and water. He's asking for vodka. She says, "You don't understand. We have beer and we have water." So she offers him a beer and he gulps it down. He then tells her that he's seen things. So she says, "Did you see the little green men, Bink and Bip and Beep?" "Bink? Yeah, did you see him?" And of course, this causes him to start panicking. He just starts screaming, "Bink! Bink!" And of course, he then tries to submerge himself inside of her chair head first. So Mike thinks that he's broken. He's broken. And they're trying to discuss what exactly can be done with him until he literally starts to just submerge himself inside the chair. Now, how exactly a grown man can disappear inside of a chair, I don't really know. Sam doesn't really know. Mike doesn't really know, but it happens. Climbs on into the chair.
It's actually possible.
So, how exactly does a grown man climb all the way inside a chair?
Very, very carefully.
Good question. So, Mike's yelling at him to get out of the chair, calling him a freak, and then she hears a knock at the door. So she goes to open it, still clearly very upset with what's going on with Larry and stuck inside her chair. And it's Bink. And Bink, clearly having suffered through the attack on his ship, collapses. And she's trying to do what she can to make sure he's okay. She's trying to make sure that Larry's okay. And then she hears something go on in the distance. So this is related to that machine that they created in order to attack any alien ships that come through the area. And that is when we get to see a flashback in her time still in the military. So we get to see her dealing with an insurgent suicide bomber that they set up a kid as bait in this building, and how she did everything that she could to save this child. And when she was trying to save him, he had this little stuffed gorilla, and he gave it to her. And she was really trying to get him just to hold it, but she couldn't figure out how to save him, how to get all this taken care of. So she actually went and exited the building in order to get backup from another member of her unit, still holding on to the child's gorilla form, promising that she'd be right back for him. And she really meant that. She'd be right back. She told him not to move. And that's when it happened. So an explosion happens right when she's calling for Mike, who was her backup and her best friend in her unit. The explosion happened. The entire building that she was exiting is now nothing but rubble, and you get to see her lying halfway conscious, halfway unconscious, clearly very injured from this. And you get to see the small gorilla stuffed animal peeking from her jacket. So she clearly has dealt with quite a bit of PTSD throughout this entire story so far. We got to find out a couple issues ago how exactly she first created Mike in her head, the imaginary talking gorilla that no one else can see. And this was her way of dealing with being tortured and being a prisoner of war for as long as she was. But in this issue, we found out that Mike was actually one of her friends in her unit. I believe that he probably died as a part of that explosion. And we also found out where the gorilla came from. So it really got me in the feels. I'm not gonna lie. This comic really makes me think about a lot of things, and it's definitely something to not take very lightly. I mean, you can see a book that's got a woman in front of a junkyard with a gorilla on the cover who's holding up a peace sign, but it's actually a lot of really serious subject matter. And I'm definitely really, really loving this comic. So, yeah, give me a like if you like this video. Comment below and tell me whether or not you're currently reading Motor Girl and if you're enjoying it as much as I am. Subscribe to my channel for more comic book content, or check out any of the older videos I have up for offer here on Cat Run Figures. And until next time, I'm your host, Caitlin. Bye.